The world thought it knew Malcolm Jamal Warner, the beloved Theo Huxtable, the boy who grew up on television before our very eyes. The man who made us laugh in our living rooms, cry during heartfelt episodes, and feel the warmth of a fictional family that somehow felt more real than some of our own. But behind that familiar smile and the nostalgic glow of the Cosby Show lay a truth so dark, so twisted, that when it finally clawed its way into the light, it threatened to shatter not only his legacy, but the entire illusion of Hollywood's innocence. Because on the day the news broke of Malcolm's sudden death, the headlines told a story of an accident, a tragic, freak occurrence that robbed the world of a star too soon. But what if that story was a lie? What if the truth was that Malcolm didn't just die? He was silenced, methodically, purposefully, and without mercy by the very people who once called him family. That's the gut-wrenching, heart-shattering claim made by Felicia Rashad, the woman who for years had been not just his on-screen mother, but his friend, his confidant, someone who had seen behind the curtain of fame. And in an interview that sent shockwaves through every corner of the entertainment world, she revealed that Malcolm's death wasn't an accident at all. It was a conspiracy, a cold-blooded act designed to keep him from revealing what he knew. The first name she uttered cut through the air like a blade: Bill Cosby. To the world, he was the patriarch of wholesome television, the wisecracking father who taught life lessons between commercial breaks. But to Malcolm, according to Felicia, he had become something far darker. A man obsessed with control, not just of his career, but of his very life. Felicia said that in the months before his death, Malcolm had come to her repeatedly, his voice low, his eyes darting, telling her that Bill was working against him, that the warmth and mentorship the public saw was nothing more than a mask, hiding something predatory and manipulative. And it wasn't just Bill. The second name Felicia revealed was Tempest Bledsoe, the actress who had once been his co-star, his friend, someone the world associated with sibling-like closeness. Yet according to Felicia, she was part of the plan to dismantle him from within. They're working together, Malcolm had told her, his tone equal parts desperation and defiance. Bill and Tempest, they want to ruin me. Why? That question lingered like a toxin in the air, but Felicia's account painted a chilling picture. Malcolm was on the verge of exposing something massive, something that could topple some of the most powerful figures in Hollywood, and those people were willing to do anything to stop him. Then came the bombshell that made the conspiracy theory impossible to dismiss. A 1997 audio tape surfaced, its existence long whispered about, but believed lost forever. On it, Malcolm's own voice, raw with anger and fear, accused Tempest directly of sabotaging him, of conspiring with Cosby to destroy his career and erase his reputation so thoroughly that he could never speak out. They think they can just get rid of me, he said on the recording. But I won't go down without a fight. The truth will come out. The words are haunting now, knowing that within months of that recording, Malcolm would be found dead, under circumstances the authorities were all too quick to label an accident. Felicia's revelation lit a fuse in the public consciousness. Justice for Malcolm began trending worldwide, fans who had adored him for decades suddenly questioning every official statement, every police report, every Hollywood tribute that now felt more like a cover-up than a memorial. But Felicia wasn't done. In a second interview, she hinted at a third player in this deadly game, someone more powerful than Bill and more ruthless than Tempest, someone who had yet to be named, but who she claimed was the true mastermind. I can't say who it is, she whispered, but they're still out there, walking free, and they're the ones who really pulled the strings. That statement turned speculation into a frenzy. Hollywood bloggers, conspiracy forums, even mainstream journalists began to dig, their eyes scanning old photographs, red carpet appearances, industry gossip for any sign of who this hidden puppet master might be. Meanwhile, the authorities, perhaps spurred by public outrage, or perhaps merely looking to contain the scandal, arrested Tempest Bledsoe on charges of conspiracy to commit murder, a development that sent the entertainment world into a tailspin. Outside the courthouse, crowds of supporters for Malcolm gathered, holding signs reading, "Justice for Malcolm" and "We won't forget," their chants echoing off the marble as if they were determined to speak for a man who had been robbed of his own voice. Yet even as Tempest sat in custody, her legal team silent and her once shiny career in ashes, Felicia kept insisting that the full truth hadn't come out, that the TER Felicia Rashad knew the weight of the name she was about to speak. She knew that once it left her lips, there would be no turning back, no way to retreat into the safety of silence, because this wasn't just about revealing the final player in the conspiracy against Malcolm Jamal Warner. It was about blowing open the gates to an entire world of corruption, power, and greed that Hollywood had spent decades protecting. And in that tense moment during her third live interview, with cameras pointed at her from every angle, lights glaring hot on her face, and the entire world watching with bated breath, she took a deep breath, steadied herself, and said the words that would detonate like a bomb across every television screen and social media feed. The third person is Clifford Cliff Thomas. The name hit like a thunderclap, instantly ricocheting through newsrooms, Twitter threads, and whispered phone calls between industry insiders. Clifford Thomas wasn't just another Hollywood executive. He was Hollywood, a mogul whose fingerprints were on some of the biggest film and television empires of the past 30 years. A man so untouchable that most actors would lower their voices just mentioning him in conversation. But now Felicia was accusing him of being the puppet master behind Malcolm's death. She didn't stop at the name. She laid out the details with the precision of someone who had been holding on to these truths for years, explaining that Cliff had everything to lose if Malcolm exposed what he knew, that Malcolm had stumbled onto a network of blackmail, embezzlement, and predatory abuse that implicated not just individual stars, but entire studios, and that Clifford, terrified of losing his empire, had pulled Bill Cosby and Tempest Bledsoe into his scheme, using them as pawns to destabilize Malcolm and eventually erase him altogether. Felicia described how, in Malcolm's final weeks, he had been jumpy, guarded, constantly looking over his shoulder, telling her in hushed tones that they were watching him, that his phone had been tapped, that people were following him in unmarked cars, and worst of all, that someone had approached him with a warning, "Stop digging or you won't live to regret it." Then came the evidence that turned suspicion into certainty. Encrypted files leaked by a whistleblower who claimed to have once worked as Clifford's personal assistant. These files contained meeting notes, travel logs, and payment records showing a series of transactions to individuals connected to private security firms and consultants known for making inconvenient problems disappear. Among them were dates that lined up exactly with key moments in Malcolm's life, when he lost roles unexpectedly, when damaging rumors about him began to surface, and finally, the week of his death. The most damning piece was an audio recording from the night before Malcolm died, capturing a conversation between Clifford, Cosby, and Tempest. In the recording, Clifford's voice is cold, deliberate, and free of any hesitation. "We've waited too long. If he doesn't fall in line, we have no choice. He's a liability. Make sure it's done quietly." The horror of those words, paired with the chilling certainty in Clifford's tone, confirmed for the public that Malcolm's death had been a calculated hit, not a twist of fate. The fallout was immediate. Protests outside Clifford's offices, massive boycotts of projects tied to his name, celebrities who had once called him a friend now scrambling to distance themselves, all while Clifford himself remained silent, shielded by a fortress of high-powered attorneys and industry connections. But the walls around him began to crack when a second whistleblower stepped forward, this time with video footage showing Clifford in a private meeting with an unknown figure, boasting about the control he held over the industry. "We control the narrative. We control their lives, and no one will ever know the truth. Not while I'm in charge." That line became a rallying cry for Malcolm's supporters, plastered across protest signs, trending hashtags, and viral videos demanding accountability. As the investigation intensified, more disturbing truths emerged. Other actors who had mysteriously vanished from the spotlight after rumored conflicts with Clifford, projects that were shelved after directors refused to compromise their morals, and settlements paid quietly to silence victims. It became clear that Malcolm's death was just the tip of the iceberg, a single thread in a vast web of manipulation and abuse. Felicia, now living under constant security, refused to back down, telling reporters, "I will not rest until every last person responsible is held accountable. Malcolm deserves that. His family deserves that. The world deserves that." The legal battle that followed was the most sensational trial Hollywood had seen in decades. Prosecutors painted Clifford as the ringleader, Cosby as the manipulative mentor turned enforcer, and Tem,